Hello! If you're watching this video, you probably have some questions about natural dyeing. Maybe some of the terms, or maybe the steps don't make sense. A lot of times in some of the Facebook or Instagram videos, you'll see really beautiful videos of the color swirling in the water, and you put the fabric in, you take it out, and it's a wonderful color. And those are absolutely, the highlight of dyeing. But there's a lot that goes into it before you get to the dyeing part. So, and I feel like, the preliminary steps aren't necessarily exciting. And also they're so basic and integral to natural dyeing that they almost get overlooked in dye books. Like, the recipes are there, but sometimes it's hard to see how all the different steps are connected and what comes first and why. So I created a chart just to help explain what order to do things in, and hopefully just connect the dots and clarify the natural dye process. So let me just show you. I'm gonna make sure that this is okay. So let's take a look here. At the very top, you're going to see this yellow circle, and it says fabric preparation and dye preparation. And the first concept that I want to make clear is that these are parallel processes until it's actually time to dye the fabric. So you're going to be, if you're working with raw materials like leaves, twigs, roots, even insects, you're going to need to extract the color from the raw materials. And then on the other side, you need to prepare the fabric. So you're going to do those things. They're separate processes. And once those are completed, then you can dye your fabric. So let's take a look at this again. On the fabric side, you're going to start by choosing, you're going to choose your fabric. And this is super important. If you're doing natural dyeing, you want to use natural fabric. So where the fiber is from a natural material, such as cotton, linen, hemp, silk, or wool. There are also some quasi-natural fibers like tencel and rayon. Those are in the cellulose fiber category. They dye really well. However, they involve some a lot of chemical inputs, so I don't know if they're not really environmentally friendly. Anyway, so start with a natural material. I think for starting out, muslin is a very available, inexpensive, and easy fabric to work with, and you can sew all kinds of things with it. So you can find it at most fabric stores and online. Okay, so once you've chosen your natural fabric, you want to weigh it, and that is because the upcoming steps ideally are based on the weight of the fabric. You can find instructions that are kind of more generalized, and you can use tablespoons and things like that. But ideally you want to weigh it in grams, because it's just easy to work with grams. A kitchen scale is handy for this, and you can find those easily as well. Then you're going to scour the fabric. Scouring is a process that removes residues from the fabric, and this is so important because any residues in the fabric can prevent it from taking up dyes well. And those residues might be from the raw material itself. Like if you're working with wool, it might have grease from the sheep. Sometimes linen and silk also have components of the fiber that can interfere with dyeing. So scouring helps you remove that. Sometimes in the fabric manufacturing process, they use different finishes or, chemicals in, creating the yarn or the weave or the finish. You don't always know what's in the fabric or that there's even anything in it until you scour it and you see the water turn cloudy. Now, I'm not going to give instructions for all this in this video, but that is the next step. There are all kinds of instructions for scouring. Just know that it's important. After you scour, you're going to move on to mordanting. And there are a lot of different types of mordants for different purposes, but this is the next step after scouring. And a mordant helps your fabric grab and hang on to dye, helps it be wash fast and light fast so that the color lasts and you don't lose it. So some examples of mordants would be alum, iron, tannin is more like of an assist for cellulose like cotton, but it's kind of sometimes considered a mordant just because of the way it helps cotton hang on to color. And once you have scoured and mordanted your fabric, then it's ready for dyeing. Now, so you've done all your fabric preparation processes. On the other side, you can be extracting your color from the dye materials. So typically what that looks like is you're putting the leaves, twigs, or whatever it is in some water and simmering it. Rule of thumb is about an hour, but different plants require different, heat levels and amounts of time. So, but rule of thumb, just plan on simmering it for about an hour. Most dye plants don't need to go above a simmer, and some of them shouldn't go above a simmer. So you're basically, it's almost like making a really strong tea. So you're simmering it, and you'll see the water start to turn color, and then you can strain it out and you have your dye. That's your extracted color. And then that is ready to accept the fabric. So then you can put your mordanted fabric in the dye, and that is this wonderful yellow circle right here. So on this side is the dye extraction process, and this side is the fabric preparation. Now you're dyeing your fabric. So you're going to immerse the fabric. You want to have enough water in the pot so that the fabric can move freely and it's not bunched up. So every part of the fabric can touch the dye. And adding more water is fine. The color is based on the amount of dye stuffs that were extracted, and the amount of water doesn't change the amount of dye in the water. So the dye is related to the amount of dye stuffs and the amount of fabric, and the water amount can change. So just add water if you need to. Generally leave your fabric in the dye pot for about an hour, just at that simmering point, and Stir it occasionally so that every part of the fabric is contacting the dye. And once that hour is up, you can let it cool, or you can kind of pour it off through a colander, and then you're ready to rinse out your fabric and finish it. So of course you have to work carefully because of the heat, but rinse it in some just kind of lukewarm water, and then you can either dry it in the dryer or line dry it. Some dyes you don't want to get too hot in the dryer depending on what you're using, but and then that's pretty much it. You're going to rinse it, dry it, iron it if you want to, and then you have your finished dyed piece. So I hope that helps you connect the dots. This flow chart is available if you click the link below. It's a free download created just to help you connect the dots and dive in and try out some natural dyeing. There are a lot of good dye books out there. My favorite is Wild Color by Jenny Dean, and if you look in there you can see there are so many plants you can use for dyeing. Most of them will work with this process I just described. There are a couple of unique plants that require specific processes and don't necessarily work with what I just said, but those are fewer. Most plants will work with this flow that I've given you. The chart is also, it's printer friendly. You can print it in grayscale if you wish, if that works better for you. And just thank you for spending this time with me. I hope you enjoy dyeing, and take care.